Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So our friend and one of our favorite documentarians, Eli Steele, has a new film. It's called Killing America. Can America's Schools Be Saved? And here's the trailer.
I hope your family dies and burns in hell. What's your number? Show me your arm.
It is a swastika.
I'm not sure why. That is very upsetting.
Anti-Semitism.
It's discriminating.
Acknowledge the white fragility in the room and do better.
Many high schools across America placed racial equity before merit.
Focus president thinks there are too many Asians.
Welcome to our Wednesday, November 15, 2023 board meeting.
That's what socialist America.
Ethnic studies jumped the lab into the larger society, so they can take their ideas about settler colonialism and they can indoctrinate a generation of activists.
Radical figures as the heroes.
I believe Israel has no right to exist.
You don't learn about Martin Luther King Jr.
I believe the United States has no right to exist.
Black people are faster than white people.
Racial equity.
African American students, only 10% can pass the standardized test.
Racial equity.
Ethnic studies as a graduation requirement.
Racial equity.
We are not doing this.
Not doing anything is having no or direction.
Racial equity.
I'm brown, but I have white values.
What does it mean to be black?
If we lose the opportunity that the United States provide, we have nothing.
That's why Jews are hated so much. We refuse to be victims.
We've forgotten to celebrate what we have in common. We are Americans.
But are we?
But are we? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Eli Steele, documentary filmmaker and writer. He has previous films that we've discussed, How Jack Became Black, as well as What Killed Michael Brown. Now his latest is Killing America. Can America's Schools Be Saved? Eli, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, you hear your father's voice in the trailer repeating again, racial equity, racial equity, racial equity. Is that the threat, or to borrow from your film title, is that what's killing America?
In a way, yes, because what my father always says, the race is poison. And so we bring race into a community like that through racial equity. It means that you have to reduce people down to race, to the immutable characteristics. And that is the antithesis of what America is supposed to be about. We didn't live up to that during slavery, segregation, and we're not doing that now.
And so the conversation, I've seen some of the reviews. In fact, I was reading your Substack. It was rather comical, but not unanticipated, that some of the harshest reviews of your film so far have come from people who haven't seen it. Because the point is, you're supposed to dismiss this out of hand, because anything that would, and this is really telling, anything that would challenge the racial orthodoxy, the emphasis on racial equity in schools, is to be dismissed out of hand. It's not a subject for debate, lest you be sort of, undermining, undermining the rationale for K through 12 education in this country these days.
Yeah, it is very telling, because it was the principal of the high school that was the main focus in the documentary that released this statement about the film, but he based it on the trailer, not the actual film. And the trailer itself is sensational. He's trying to get people to watch the film. But the thing here is, you are an educator. you have a responsibility to put facts out, to educate the public. And so when you come out with a statement that is inflammatory, you are not upholding the responsibility as that kind of member of the community. And so, it's just very telling. It also tells you where the power is. He feels like he can just lie and say that because that's where the power is and all of that. But after spending time in that community, I feel like the power is in the hands of a few. And most of the people just kind of go along with it. And a lot of people believe in that power. But
is there any... I mean, you're saying people go along with it because of they're afraid. You know, here's I'm afraid. Everybody's afraid, and that gives them that somehow absolves people. As long if you're afraid, then it's okay if you do nothing. If you go along with ridiculous things, terrible things, well, it's not an excuse and it's not a defense. But my question is not so much what people say I'm afraid because they know that's an acceptable cover story for most people, but do they push? I mean. Intellectually, even privately, do they push back? Do they know this is toxic? This is poison?
I think there's denial. I think even the people that was working with on the film, you can see the progression. Where they said at first they wanted DEI light, they wanted some sort of compromise. But now they see how poison it is and how we need to return to merit. But a lot of people around them, they're talking about people who are in the tech world. They own companies. They have employees. And so they're all sort of hijacked by that. And so it's a very hard thing for them to pull away from that.
So,
and, that's part of what's killing America. I mean, that's part of what's killing America because where you don't do anything, it's toxic, you know it, but you say, my image, my status is more important.
So, I mean, were there moments talking to a teacher, an administrator, students, family, where you said, there's some hope here? Or, I mean, this sort of soft totalitarian culture where even if people know it, they're either not vested enough to say it or they're afraid to say it. And they've sort of, forget FDR's nothing to fear but fear itself. You have something to fear. It's called identitarianism. Was there any sort of green shoots there that you say, well, maybe there is something bubbling below the surface that will present itself at some point when things get a little bit worse, or no?
So I think that there's hope. On the film, I met a very young amiable man, 17 years old, who was in the on the school board meeting. He's actually the student trustee. He had balls. He would challenge everybody. And so that's who we have to, it might be the youth. If we should keep giving the message to the youth, educating them about what's happening, because you have to remember, a lot of they grow up in the system, they don't know, unless you tell them you're being cheated. Massive grade inflation, they're removing honors classes. You have kids that have 8 year differences in learning in the same classroom. And the kids know. They know they're being cheated. And so the question is, we have to be strong enough to provide that platform for them to step up into.
Right. So the kids may be fish that don't know they're in water, depending on how long they've been, indoctrinated in the system. But certainly the parents and grandparents and the larger community knows. And so, what do you think? What do you think the distribution is? I mean, one high school community is obviously not necessarily representative, but I mean, you talk to people in different districts and you start to get a feel for it. I mean, how many people have really fully bought into this ideology and need to be deprogrammed? And how many people, what on a percentage basis do you think are going along for whatever reason with something they don't otherwise believe?
I'll tell you exactly what's happening. Everybody that's in my film is either a minority or an immigrant or a child of an immigrant. Every American that has been here for generations, they said, oh, yeah, I'll be happy to be interviewed by you. Then they backed out. So that tells you where the line is. This film, if you want to play identity politics, the people in the film are largely immigrants. The people that made the film are black. You know, the whole crew, the film was made in Chicago. It was made in LA, the south side of Chicago, all the people, all the talent. So my point is that the power is not largely coming from what we would call multi-generation Americans. It's
right.
coming from, that's a, go ahead.
So the people, the multi-generational Americans who were going to do an interview for the film, they backed out because they got a sense that this was not going to be consistent with the racial equity orthodoxy that they've been conditioned to go along with, and so they said, I don't want any part of this. I don't want to get in trouble. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and this community is Menlo Park. So it's a very liberal, very affluent neighborhood. The fact that we were able to show the film and make the film in this community, it's a big step. And we sold out every seat. And the principal responded, and so I think it shows that, I think it has to convince the other Americans, you have forgotten where you should be American. You have forgotten your responsibility. You are taking comfort in your wealth, all of that. But what about the future? What about your future employees? All of that. And so that's the message that we're trying to drive home.
How much has the rise in anti-Semitism since the October 7th attacks on Israel, how much has that changed the landscape in places like this school in Menlo Park that you're describing? Because, now maybe there were some people that thought they were in with the right crowd, but they've come to learn that no, actually, the crowd, when it has to make a choice between Palestinians or Jews based on identity, that crowd is choosing the Palestinians. And how you've seen that spill over, particularly on college campuses, but not limited to college campuses. Actually, there's a little bit of a controversy right now in New Trier High School on the North Shore in Chicago over the activities that are allowed for Holocaust Remembrance Day. So it's very interesting. And I just wonder, the continued atomization of people strictly by identity, is that starting to undermine the cultural preeminence that the identitarians enjoy in places like government school systems?
Yeah, absolutely, because these schools have been teaching liberation theology or liberation ideology, which divides us into the oppressor and the oppressed. And Jews, even though they have part of the largest history of oppression, that's been erased. They're in the white box. The rich, the wealthy, they control the world. They're in the white box. So therefore, when October 7th happened, it was already there. All they had to do is step into the anti-Semitism and be justified. That's the danger about anti-racism. Anti-racism can point to history. They can say that was bad. And it is. But what they do is they conflate that with the person. And so anti-racism gives anti-Semitism much more power. It really does. And so that's why, they can call a Jew a name in the hallway. They can tell the Jew that Hitler was white and not be punished. A teacher at the high school can tell the students that the UN declared that the creation of Israel was illegal, which is not true. She can say that Hamas are people from Gaza, not terrorists, and get away with it.
Killing America, Can America's Schools Be Saved? I know you had some back and forth for the last documentary with What Killed Michael Brown on Amazon. So where can people go to download and watch Killing America?
We have not released the film yet online because there's been a great demand for in people screen it along with panels. So we hope to come to Chicago, and but we're going to New York, Florida, Washington, D.C., L.A., and San Diego. And if you go to manofsteelproductions.com or follow me on Twitter, Hebrew_Steele, then I'll have all the updates.
Okay, it's manofsteelproductions.com is the website for the screening dates, and obviously once it's platformed for distribution, it's Man of Steel with an E, Steele, manofsteelproductions.com for all the screening dates for Killing America, and ultimately where it will be distributed when it is. Eli Steele, thanks so much for joining us. As always, best of luck with your new film, Killing America. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Larry Nora, founder and CEO of You Store It, a network of award-winning self-storage facilities in the Chicago area, and a customer of Signature Bank. We've developed over 70 storage centers throughout the city and suburbs, and our business continues to grow. We need a bank who understands the neighborhoods and communities where we are making investments. We found that in Signature Bank. They know this city and its neighborhoods because they are based right here in Chicago. Finding a local banking institution like Signature Bank has been critical to the success of You Store It, and we look forward to a long-term relationship.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business